Extraordinary words. Today is episode 9, Never Going Against the Guru's Wishes. According to the great perfection teachings, the lineage must be like a golden thread, untarnished by the rust of broken vows, especially regarding all vows related to the Vajra Master Acharya. Regarding these Vajra Acharya vows, we previously studied the 50 verses of Guru devotion and learned the 14 root vows. This year, I ask that in another month's time, we will also teach the entering the way of the great vehicle. Everyone must study it well. Tantric teachings have, for everyone's mind stream, especially in the aspect of cutting through afflictions, a very great power of blessing. But for this foundation, keeping the vows with the Vajra Master pure, one must guard it like one guards one's own life. Keeping vows means guarding them as you would your life. In this short human life of ours, never have the slightest contradiction with the Vajra Acharya or any behavior contrary to the Dharma. You must faithfully practice in accordance with the teachings. This is how His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche started speaking. Then His Holiness explained why he said this. His Holiness spoke from his own experience. So, as I often mention, when many Westerners give speeches, they use themselves, start by using themselves as a concrete example. So, taking himself as an example, although I was with the Master for only a few years, didn't we mention 5 or 6 years earlier? But just as I have told you, once, in front of Thupga Rinpoche, he made a vow. At that time, it seems His Holiness had just arrived there. People didn't know him and didn't respect him much. Later, after staying for a while, perhaps due to His Holiness's charisma, many people frequently invited him to chant for the deceased. Just like at our Larung Ga, there is a group of people dedicated to chant for the deceased daily. Some are specifically invited, some go daily on their own without being invited. Our victorious Mara subduing land doesn't seem to have this yet. Even if they went, they might not know how to perform Phawa, right? So, at that time, he frequently went to chant for the deceased. Because he went frequently, he felt perhaps due to the offerings received. It wasn't that His Holiness didn't want to save beings, but mainly, if it's for offerings, it seems like clinging to worldly things, which is not good. Also, many people asked His Holiness for empowerments. Later he felt that doing so made his mind impure, perhaps tainted by the 8 worldly concerns. So he immediately ran to the Master. His Holiness also had such experiences. He promised not to perform deliverance rituals for people anymore, and not to give empowerments in public. Then the old Master said, if you don't want to give empowerments, it is fine not to, but there is no need to make a vow. His Holiness said, I want to vow not to give empowerments. Actually saying it out loud is a bit. Not giving empowerments, not saving the deceased, sounds a bit like that. At the time, Thupga Rinpoche told him, you don't need to vow, just don't give empowerments. Although he thought this was a good thing, His Holiness didn't realize it then, but actually it seems he did something that the Master was not pleased with. Honestly, apart from this, I never did any other thing contrary to the Master's wishes. Throughout the entire process of relying on him, I never once did anything to make the Master unhappy. Then, the next day, the glorious Master Thupga Rinpoche, while teaching us, said in a joking manner, "Hey, what do you think? My little chubby Tulku promised me yesterday not to give empowerments anymore, nor to save the deceased. So does this mean he is promising not to perform deeds that benefit sentient beings anymore?" Then he started to laugh. "Come here, let's touch heads." At that time, on the surface, the Master didn't seem to be criticizing him. He made a very affectionate, intimate gesture, but from the joking at the start to the touching of heads later, it seemed the Master was a bit unhappy. His Holiness felt this behavior was perhaps quite mysterious. Some of us might not necessarily be able to discover the Master's secret intention. The Master was joking while saying, "You come here, touch heads with me." In the past, for many masters, touching heads was a kind of sign, a gesture. At that time, on one hand, he was very good to His Holiness, but on the other hand, he seemed to see from the Master's expression that he was a little unhappy. This was when His Holiness was most sad and worried. Even when His Holiness was in his 60s and 70s, he often cried while telling this, feeling very sad. Actually, one shouldn't speak that way in front of the Master. No matter what the Master says, making him happy is always the right thing to do. But at that time he spoke wrongly. This shouldn't have happened. When the Master was approaching parinirvana, the Master especially came before the assembly and said, "Perhaps others will laugh at me, but to me, my little chubby tulku is 100 times, 1,000 times more important than anyone else. Precisely because of this, from now on, whatever my little chubby tulku does, you should follow and do the same." There were things unspoken in between. It was mentioned briefly here. When it was very close to the end, Thupga Rinpoche said, "To me, this little chubby tulku," this was probably a nickname, also a kind of, the Master's physical form was perhaps a bit stout. In Tibetan we say gyagongma. Generally speaking, gyagongma means someone rather stout and also dignified, someone like that. Whatever he does, you can do too. I can't sit still anymore. I must go back. He was describing the scene at that time. Perhaps when approaching parinirvana, the Master was quite ill after speaking to everyone. Perhaps the place where they taught. Just like at Chiang Ma now, the Dharma hall is below, and the Master wish-fulfilling Jewel's residence might be above. He went straight up. Usually, the Master always loved and protected me like this. Just the day before he passed away, supported by a few people, the Master walked out of his bedroom. That happened to be when he met the Master. Whenever the Master told this story, he would cry. Everyone remembers, and this was told many times. The way it was told was basically the same. He said at that time, "You come here quickly." His Holiness said, "When I came before Thupga Rinpoche said, 'My little tulku, last year when people from your hometown came to get you, at that time I couldn't bear to let you go, so I didn't let you go back. But this year we father and son must start to part.'" Before he passed away, he basically already knew. After saying this, he touched heads with His Holiness to bless him. His Holiness said, "This was the last time I had physical contact with the Master, the last time. With mouths we seemed to make vows to each other. At that time, let alone making a vow, I couldn't answer even a single sentence. Maybe," the Master suddenly said, "I'm going to pass away this year, we are going to part." He seemed both sad, afraid, terrified, and sort of nervous, let alone making a vow. By right, since the Master was about to go to the Pure Land, making a vow was very important. But not only did he not make a vow, he couldn't even speak. His Holiness then spoke about the first time he saw Thupga Rinpoche. Next, he seemed to jump quite a bit in the middle, because perhaps due to the Master's emotions or something at the time, sometimes the plot jumped. He was just speaking about passing away, just like in some of our Western novels. Suddenly the camera shifted to when he first arrived at the place Chiang Ma. When I first saw Thupga Rinpoche, he appeared exceptionally joyful. Although I went with Joba at the time, originally in the biography of His Holiness that I first wrote, there is a drawing of him and Joba carrying their bags, travelling together to Shichiu. Joba and he went together, but Thupga Rinpoche asked, "Between the two of you, are you the more outstanding one?" His Holiness replied at that time, "There is no difference of good or bad between us. We are just two ordinary monks." Thupga Rinpoche then said, "That is very good, very good. You two just arrived. You probably don't have anything to eat." I should give you some food, but I only have some salty tsampa. I don't know if in our farming areas in Luhuo, people often put salt in tsampa. Maybe Shi Chiu also has this custom, I'm not too sure. He said it was salty tsampa, maybe for His Holiness and his companion at that time, whether salty or sweet, it should have been fine. But Thupga Rinpoche didn't give it to them then. I only have a little bit of salty tsampa. Perhaps Thupga Rinpoche also, his conditions, he didn't have much either. Indeed, when we first arrived, the Master showed us similar care. Anyway, I won't talk about these things, but it doesn't matter. Tomorrow, Nanjin Tulku has invited some monks to his home to chant the Kangyur from the Tripitaka. If you two go there, you might get some food. If offerings are distributed for chanting here, I will also ask the assembly to save some for you. So, masters really value newcomers and disciples with karmic affinity very much. So, I have often told everyone when people first arrive or when they first start studying, they face certain difficulties in life and also difficulties mentally. At that time, we must try our best to lend them a place to stay, or if they lack living expenses, give them a little. When I first arrived too, if I hadn't had some preparations from His Holiness, I really couldn't have stayed. Because at that time, it wasn't like our Larungar now. There were no resources in that valley. To buy a pack of noodles, one had to walk to the county town. So indeed, for some newcomer, look, when His Holiness first arrived there, the Master helped him to go chanting. We went to that Tulku's house to chant the Tripitaka, and as a result, we got some food. Actually, in the beginning, His Holiness also often gave our Dharma friends in the victorious Mara subduing land tsampa, butter and dried cheese, including myself. Then, when they came back from chanting, it might take several days for 2 people to chant the Tripitaka. When they came back, Thupga Rinpoche was also very happy. Usually, he treated me because he had just arrived there. Actually, for us now, I often go there. When I go by car, sometimes it takes a whole day, even by car. I don't know how they walked there back then. And when they got there, the conditions were, even now they aren't considered that good. It goes without saying for that time, how they studied there. So when thinking of these things, our current conditions for study are truly very easy. But for some who have no living expenses, I hope that other Dharma friends of ours will also often help them, especially when they first arrive, offer them some volunteer work departments, a place to live, a place to eat. That would be very good. It's fine to do volunteer work while studying and contemplating. When I came back, Thupga Rinpoche was very happy. Usually he treated me uniquely, saying what my little chubby Tulku did, how my little chubby Tulku is. He often spoke like this in class too. When I first arrived there, my lungs hurt very much. I fainted several times. His Holiness was in poor health at that time too. I don't know about when he first arrived. Later it seemed His Holiness's lungs were fine, but in the beginning his lungs hurt badly and he fainted several times. Later, when I went before the Master in the middle of the class, Thupga Rinpoche said jokingly, "My little chubby Tulku has come back from the dead. How is the place of the afterlife?" he asked jokingly, because didn't he faint after fainting? "Oh, today he came back from the bardo. So how is the next life? What is the bardo like?" he asked him, teasing him in class. After speaking, he laughed heartily. Actually, speaking of these experiences with the Master, perhaps many of us have also personally experienced this. Specific principles. It is also written in Recollection of the Time Gone By, a dreamy pilgrimage with my Guru 30 years ago. It seems later some things were forgotten, some things are remembered quite clearly. Speaking of his loving kindness towards me, even a real biological son probably wouldn't receive care surpassing what I received. His Holiness also said this often. I once wondered, was he spoiling me too much? Or did he show some faith in me or trust? From the first meeting to relying on him in the middle to the final parting, at any stage I never did anything that truly went against Thupga Rinpoche's wishes. Everyone should also examine this. In our process of generally relying on a spiritual teacher, during these stages, first meeting, relying in between, and finally parting, he never did anything against the Master's secret intention. Although I was a very playful and mischievous person, His Holiness was indeed playful and mischievous when he was young, but he never showed any anger towards me. Throughout the entire process of relying on him, it was like this. Among them in the past, there was a reincarnation of Patrul Rinpoche, Patrul Tulku. He said, "Your master for life after life is Thupga Rinpoche." Indeed it is so. Jigme Gyalwai Nyugu also once said, he never did anything to make the glorious master glare at him. As I mentioned before, apart from the incident of vowing not to perform deliverance rituals, was the master a bit unhappy about that incident, or what? Aside from that, I really never did anything to make Thupga Rinpoche glare at me. This is still very difficult. The practice Thupga Rinpoche cultivated all his life was this, in praise of precepts. Maybe the text here, when teaching the 3 vows, it was transcribed from an audio recording. I never did a single thing that slighted pure discipline. You should also pray earnestly to Thupga Rinpoche. My master was unlike any other. He was a truly perfect Buddha. Generally speaking, all masters treated me very well. For example, Master Lodro, whom I relied on before, and Khenpo Zazong, and Master Pema Siddhi. In appearance too, they all especially liked His Holiness. There was one named Khenpo Dawu. Occasionally, especially when he was young, he would criticize a few words, but he did so out of good intentions, not out of hatred towards me. When I studied at Loro Monastery with Lama Ogyen Tenzin, Gyalwa Zangpo and others, because Lama Ogyen Tenzin, perhaps many old Dharma friends know, he used to be below the mandala, a Khenpo for nuns. He passed away later. There was also a master named Gyalwa Zangpo. When they were studying together, the one he regarded most highly was me. Later, when I was studying in Shichiu, because on one hand he wanted to see Thupga Rinpoche. Thupga Rinpoche was his master, so he wanted to visit him. But on the other hand, Khenpo Dawu wanted to see me. He probably regarded him very highly too, so he went. He made a special trip to Shichiu to visit. Going to Shichiu at that time wasn't like now, where a day's car ride is enough. Khenpo Dawu wasn't bad to him. He meant very well. It can be seen that the joy all the masters felt towards me was among the best. If someone asks, "What did you do to make the masters so happy?" His Holiness said very humbly, "Actually, I don't know either. I never offered any wealth or goods." Probably His Holiness really had no wealth or goods to offer. I also never performed any service. Generally, to make a master happy, one either does things for him, offers wealth, or studies, contemplates, and practices. Nor did I truly through practice. I feel this sentence might not be true, because His Holiness's practice, study, and contemplation were very good. This is humble language. It was probably a kind of karmic affinity from the past. In the past, when I prayed to all the masters, I seemed to pray and make vows with a heart of joy. Perhaps precisely because of this, all the masters responded with the same joy.
Zhubum Zolin Rova Zhurusho Banter Badna Sodargye Banter Badna Sodargye Banter Badna Sodargye